friends, just a quick general content warning for this entire episode. We do talk a lot about violence because Lord of the Flies has to do with a lot of violence. So if that's something that you shouldn't listen to, please, by all means, do not listen to this episode. And around the 23-minute mark, when Emberlyn starts talking about the author William Golding, there is mention of sexual assault. So if that's something that you shouldn't listen to, around the 25-minute mark, when we start talking about peaks and valleys, you should be in the clear. But again, if you just want to avoid that altogether, don't listen to this episode. Take care of yourself. And with that being said, let's get this show on the road. Hello, and welcome to Lit by Moonlight, where it's not a phase to lose your innocence on an island full of 8-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean, I do it all the time. Also,
Really?
Did I mention I'm 8?
You are very mature for your age.
Thanks. I try to be.
You're welcome.
Yeah. A UK boys choir, a plane crash, an island with vast jungle, and unforgiving creepers. One thing about those creepers is they do be unforgiving.
They do be. All them creepers, man.
William Golding's Lord of the Flies satirizes the Coral Island, an adventure novel by R.M. Ballantyne. The book serves as a critique of British imperialism of the 40s and 50s. While the book was never intended to be a universally interpreted portrayal of society, and arguably should not be, it is taught today in schools to explore the effects of groupthink and individuality, the loss of innocence, what it means to have morals, and what might happen if a group of kids found themselves stranded with no adults in sight.
My name is Caitlin, and I desperately want to be loved by my friend Molly's cat. Spoiler alert, Patty will never let that happen.
Patty said no.
Every time, listen, she forgot that as a kitten, I saved her from the loud noises of a drill being drilled.
Yeah.
And she hid in my sweatshirt hoodie, and it was adorable. And I remind her every time I see her, whenever she hisses at me in greeting, and I'm just like, remember that time we bonded? And she said, no, fuck you.
Why did she hiss?
I don't know. She hates me.
Oh.
It's not just me, but I feel personally attacked.
No.
Especially when she attacks me personally.
The April Gate of cats.
Literally. But I respect her.
My name is Emberlyn, and at the time that I wrote these notes, I projectiled off of an electric scooter about an hour ago in a gas station parking lot and passed out, but I'm here now. So
I'm glad you're here.
yeah, made it.
You're conscious.
Yeah, conscious.
Your knees are missing pieces of them, but
yeah.
it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually, it's in that gas station parking lot, but
yeah, they are. It's so funny when I got up. Well, no, when I was still sitting there, but I came to essentially.
How long were you out for?
Not very long, maybe like a
Okay.
couple seconds. Like, I definitely wasn't there for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
And I looked up, and the guy who greeted me in a way that I think only somebody in DC would greet another person said, "You're lucky I studied EMT at Georgetown at UW." Like,
Shut up.
I was like,
just before I help you, let me just flex a little bit.
he could have said, "I'm an EMT," or "Stay calm." And he did ask me if I was okay, to be fair. And sir, if you're out there, I'm very grateful for you. But also, it was just giving. I feel like if he was in another part of the country and he said that, he wouldn't have started the sentence that way. But being in DC just causes you to flex on everybody about your Washington, DC earned degree. And I just,
Credentials.
like, go home. It's giving Deloitte. It's giving Capitol Hill intern. Just sit down.
Sit down. Help me first, but sit down.
Help me first. Help me get up, and then you sit down. Take my spot.
So, what do you, now that you're conscious,
Yeah, welcome.
what do you remember about reading The Lord of the Flies in high school?
I remember a day, it was probably like winter, being really sick home from school and reading this entire book in one day. And I really liked it at the time. I remember really enjoying the book. Mm-hmm. And I think it had been one of my favorite books when we read it in school, honestly. I remember coming back and being like, that was really good. And I think it's just because I was kind of a pompous asshole high schooler who really was like seeking depth in anything. So I liked the larger commentary about society and the depth of symbolism. However, knowing now as an adult that it was never meant to be universalized, I kind of hate it. I don't think it's the nuanced interpretation of society and power that English teachers want it to be. And I think we should stop teaching it. And those are all my big takes that I'll probably expand on later in the episode. But that was my interpretation. What about you?
Well, first, when you say that it was never meant to be universalized, you mean that, like, it was never meant to, like, be read on such a global level? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Well, what I mean is it's not that deep. Like, when you look at the way that English teachers now interpret it is like, wow, this is like a larger commentary about society. And it really wasn't. Like, it was, but it wasn't. It was actually a commentary explicitly about British imperialism in the 40s and 50s, right? During the threat of nuclear war. But it wasn't.
That's what Golding wanted it to be.
Yeah,
like
that was
Golding's
intentions. That was Golding's intentions in the very sense that he read Coral Island, which was this Ballantine novel about these young boys that are like all heroic and are able to work together on the island. And it was kind of like a satire of that book, which a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know because of the way it was taught in schools. And I think, like, when it comes to the books that all the books that we read in the canon in school, this one I think frustrates me the most, knowing what we know about it now, because I think that the way that we teach it, like, I'll go into it more later in our episode, but it just stresses me out a lot. What do you remember about this book in high school?
I remember a few specific things that have nothing to do with the story. Which I remember walking into English class one day and our teacher had written welcome to the jungle on the whiteboard.
No way.
Yeah, I just remember walking in and saying welcome to the jungle, and in my head I was like, welcome to the jungle.
That was definitely the intent. I love that.
But that was just very on brand Mrs. Mercurial. I love her to death and I miss her. She was a delight. She might have been playing the song Welcome to the Jungle on the radio, but maybe that didn't happen and that song was just playing in my head. But also I feel like that was very on brand for her, so I feel like she would have.
Yeah,
that's how I choose to remember it.
Yeah.
I remember a dramatic retelling of the story one day that you did when we had a substitute that maybe we can get into later.
Yeah.
And then I remember people chanting the kill the pig chant. People constantly repeating sucks to your ass more.
Yep.
Because that's what we latched onto. And then finally, I remember someone in our class made a pig's head on a stick made out of paper mache.
Wow.
And I just think, like, it was fantastically done. Like, kudos to the person who did it. I hope they got an A on the project because that's a lot of time and effort, but also what a choice.
What a choice. Oh my God. So, rereading the book now, some years later, was there a specific moment that hooked you?
Not necessarily. This is another one of those books that where like The Outsiders, like once the story started, it just kept moving smoothly enough where I wasn't like waiting for something to grab my attention.
Yeah.
Although ultimately, I guess I would say the hook is the very beginning for me because I wanted to know why the plane crashed and how they survived and all of those like mechanics of everything. But the story was not about that. No. And I wish it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that it isn't because you kind of think that's where it's going.
Yeah.
So that's very funny.
Yeah. What was your hook?
I guess what's interesting about this book, probably especially at a 10th grade reading level, is you kind of need to use context clues and Ralph's internal dialogue to determine what's going on, which can be kind of an interesting thing. Like, why are these boys on an island? Like, what's going on? How are they going to get out of this one? Like, there's definitely an air of, like, mystery there that probably would have kept me reading as a high schooler and definitely kept me reading now, besides the fact that we already decided we were going to do this and, you know, I'm not going back on it. Though knowing what I know now about the book and about the author, I might have if I'd known. But yeah, it's interesting. It's, you know, it's definitely got a lot of like graphic violence in it, and it's got a lot of interesting symbolism that's apparently very important to kind of that way you interpret the story. But yeah, it's a book, you know. This sure was a book, as we say.
It sure was a book. So did you, with this sure was a book, did you have a quote that you could pull from that you liked about it?
Yeah, kind of, like, I mean, the writing's very good in this book. The visuals are lovely. I think if I could highlight the entire scene when Simon goes off into his little special place in the forest, I would. That's a very beautiful scene, if not the best in the book. Mm-hmm. But in terms of quotes specifically, I'd say we've got to have rules and obey them. After all, we're not savages. We're English, and the English are best at everything. And I just like laughed out loud because like the imperialism, like the I think like this, I love this because it's kind of like the pinnacle of the satire that Golding's kind of trying to make happen here, and it does, I guess, probably very well. I've never read The Coral Island, but it just makes me laugh. Like, of course you would think that. It kind of reminds me of like when you go to a place and someone's like, oh, like we're American, blah blah blah, and it's like, no. No,
tone it down.
Yeah, it's not that's not what you think it means anymore, or ever was, but could continue. How about you?
I guess I had a favorite quote. I wouldn't say it's my favorite quote, but like there wasn't any that while reading like really completely stuck out to me, and also like I did try and get through this as quick as I can because I realized as I was reading it, I was like, I don't like this. Chrissy, wake up.
Chrissy, wake up.
So, I will say that a quote I did like was, "The greatest ideas are the simplest." Just for how it can be applied with literally anything. Like if you have an idea, like I feel like nowadays, like if you feel like you need to be like successful and put something out into the world, you feel like you have to be like, I have to be different and I have to go against the grain and blah blah blah, and like like you do to some extent, but also like if you have an idea and if it's like as simple as being like, I like this book and I'm going to talk about it, just do it, you know. Like,
yeah, no need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's a simple concept, and then you can make it your own as you go. So I don't know, I thought that was cool. Cool.
Did you have a song that you would sing to make one of the little assembly meetings that the boys were having on the island more interesting?
Yes, I said that I would sing Alice's Restaurant Massacre because that song is so long that maybe by the time the song is finished, a ship would notice the smoke signal and save us before anyone tries to kill anybody.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what? Everybody's just going to sit around and listen to the song?
Yes. It's a story. Like, yeah. In a perfect world where I'm like, hey, I have the conch. It's my turn. I'm just going to filibuster a song, which is basically what this song is.
Yeah.
It's just 20 minutes of a whole story. And, yeah, maybe I would actually save our asses. So,
well, truth be told, I think filibustering in the context of this book would have been more socially accurate than maybe like the idea that everybody kills each other. But rather instead everybody just kind of like sits around and talks off their asses for like 30 to 40 to 50 days and doesn't actually get anything done. Like that seems like more symbolic.
I feel like if you want a better telling of what might happen when a group of people are stuck on an island, not to mention this show for like the umpteenth time on the podcast, but please go watch Wrecked if you can find it anywhere to watch. All I could think about was that show when I was reading this book, and I was just like, oh, this wouldn't happen if Steve had a gun, you know?
Yes, and obviously Wrapped is a satire of Lost, so even better. There's another
Maybe
one.
It's a better satire.
There's another one that comes to my head. It was on Discovery Kids growing up, and I only know it was on Discovery Kids because at some point during my parents' divorce, they thought that in order to appease me, getting cable would maybe like help with that. So, I know, right? And they had the show called Flight 29 Down, which I think was also like a kid's satire of, not satire, but like a kid's version of Lost.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, I do know that Corman Blue is in it though, and that kind of,
Oh?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Interesting.
That's all I remember, and I was like, wow, this is.
Well, I was a PBS kid, so I missed out on that one.
Right. Well, I was a PBS kid too, of course. PBS alum right here, but you know, once we hit like 10, you know, my parents decided they didn't love each other anymore. You know,
that's when most people get cable, when their parents decide they don't love each other.
Yeah,
anymore.
I'll tell you what, cable or like a Facebook account prematurely, those were the ultimate things, like the bribing orders in 2010 to 2012. So
I know what will save this marriage.
Yeah.
Cable.
I know what will
Disney
save
Channel.
Not even the marriage at that point. There was no point. There was no hope of preserving the marriage. It was more like, I know it's going to save this girl from becoming like one of those weird kids in school that like wears a lot of silly string, like a lot of those like little animal bracelets and like
the silly bands. Are you trashing silly bands?
Yeah, I am trashing silly bands. Let me tell you why. Because I went to camp with a girl that had collected them, and when we were in summer camp together, she just kind of like draped all of her silly band collection all over her bunk, and I get tangled in them in the middle of the night.
You got tangled in silly bands.
Yeah, so.
My memory of silly bands was being excited that I got something that was popular in school, and then I wore one to school, and then my middle school bully told me, oh, that one means insert some weird sexual thing here, and I was just like, cool, thank you for ruining silly bands.
They have meanings?
They don't. We were just in middle school.
I was like, what do they each mean? I'm literally going to go after this and Google it and find out if they... Nope, actually right now.
Yeah, there was a whole thing where, because kids are kids and, you know, things gotta be weird sometimes, and middle school was just like that, where it's like, if you had this silly band, that means that you're in love or whatever. And I remember, like, wearing something, I don't know, maybe it was just like a fucking palm tree or something. And I remember excitedly showing me, like, look, these are the silly bands I got. Am I popular and cool now?
Yeah.
Because my friend group at the time was full of people who were quote unquote thinking they were popular and bullied me most of the time. So
I wasn't your friend
like,
group.
No,
no, you weren't.
This is where we spill the tea. Everyone bullied me relentlessly. No, but like girls that I hung out with that weren't you. I was like always trying to like win their validation and approval, and then they would tease me and be like, haha, that's what friends are like. And I excitedly showed them my silly bands, and then one of them was just like, this means that you, I don't know, killed a man or something. But it was something like inappropriate that made me uncomfortable and made me never want to wear silly bands again. But I also was struggling to fit in.
Yeah.
So I was just like, but I have to wear the silly bands. But no one look at which one it is, because you can't know that I have a palm tree.
I think the reason that I wasn't bullied as much as I used to be, or that I wasn't bullied, I think the reason that I wasn't bullied as senselessly in middle school is because people were doing it behind my back, and because I was also just like such a low-hanging fruit. Like, I think back to what I was doing at this time, and it was probably drawing Mario and Peach fan fiction from Nintendo. So it's like, if I bet the school bullies looked at me and they're like, nah, she's
bullying herself.
She is creating her own problems. Like, she doesn't need our help.
She's doing the work for us. We're good guys.
Okay, guys. So I'm going to tell you the name of like each. So these aren't actually silly bands. It's the jelly bracelets, apparently, which is like just the regularly like the jelly bracelets that aren't like shaped like anything. But I'm going to tell you the meaning. So if you have yellow, you've done hugging and kissing. So
oh no, controversial.
I definitely have that one. Purple, French kissing. Oui, je m'appelle Umberlin.
Nail.
Pink, love bite / flashing. I like that flashing is a sex act. Like, it's definitely lewd, but I don't think, like, when I step into the bedroom, my first intention is just to just flash somebody, to moon somebody, if you will. Like that scene for the dance in Greece. Like, I don't really think of that as like a sex act. Red is a lap dance. Just the fact that middle schoolers were like, this is the epitome of sex. Like, hell yeah.
We had codes for everything, and we were 12.
Black is in quotes, and it's all the way. I think I remember this. This is all coming back to me. And then gold is everything symbolized by all the other colors. So.
Oh, so it's just all encompassing. Like,
yeah.
I do all of these things.
I do all of these things, especially the flashing. So that's it. Now you guys know all the different colors for the sex bracelets. Congratulations.
Sorry.
Not sorry. More like, you're welcome. What the fuck are we talking about? What
Did
song?
you say what song?
No, God, no. We went on a tangent, a fun tangent. So coming back from that, I just said whatever the fuck my neighbor is playing loud enough for me to hear through the ceiling because the bass is kind of popping. I'm kind of feeling it.
Nice.
Don't know what it is, but I feel like it would probably prevent some sort of violent uprising, so I can't complain.
Yeah, we can only hope. So what character do you think should hold the conch in Lord of the Flies?
I think Simon. He's just such a fascinating character because of his connection to purity and human goodness. I just liked him a lot. He is, as they say in the Tumblr lore, a soft boy. Nope. Hate everything about that. I know I'm going to get attacked on TikTok for that. Some English professor is going to come crawling out of their bookshelf and say, this is why Social media's reductionist. We should not be calling Simon from Lord of the Flies a soft boy. They're absolutely right about that. I don't know why it came out of my mouth. Apologizing in advance. But he's just I think he's neat. He's just an interesting character.
I just think
very
he's
interesting.
neat.
What about you?
I said Piggy for obvious reasons. He was the only character who had any common sense, and the poor kid was just getting bullied, much like I was in middle school, and sidelined the entire book and didn't deserve the ending that came for him. And I do know that there's a whole thing about how Piggy isn't listened to for the sake of showing the effects of groupthink and Golding's interpretation of how this scenario would actually go down, although I disagree. But I really don't think that every single kid would be so rude to Piggy like that. Like, yeah, kids can be mean, but I really don't think that all of them are capital L, capital T like that. And I can't believe that Piggy wouldn't have at least had one friend on the island that backed him up. And I really don't think that kids would kill each other.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, though. And I think that's kind of the point that a lot of scholars have since made about the book is like that's probably not what would happen. And and it actually isn't what happened. You'll soon learn. But to your point, yeah, I don't think kids would all murder each other on an island. No, it's a no for me.
No for me, dog.
So, was there a character that you would steal specs from?
Jack, because if he didn't let the fire go out, this book would have been so much shorter.
Oh, yeah.
Which would have benefited me, because then I would have been like, oh, cool, I finished the book. Oh, it's still going? Damn it. Okay. And also, he's a dick.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, he's a
That's
piece
all
of
I
shit.
have to say on that.
Yeah, terrifying.
I know he's a kid, but
it's giving...
he kind of sucks, dude.
It's giving little boy who is on Reddit threads making death threats at people. Yeah, not cool. I think for me, it's probable to say that I actually hated them all.
Yeah.
Like, I think I like Simon just because Simon didn't give me a reason to dislike him. But
he was just kind of vibing.
Yeah, he was just there. Like, but Jack and Ralph are both kind of tyrants in their own right. Like, Jack is obviously, as we've just, gone on about, violently tyrannical, like, very disturbing and problematic and blood hungry and whatnot. And Ralph is kind of just like this douche. Like, he's just kind of a shit opportunist who takes advantage of any chance to gain favor with the others. Like, when teasing Peggy, like, he seems like the natural leader in the book, but then I think the question becomes, like, why? I think this is a question that, like, might ring true for some people that look at, like, leaders today, particularly political figures, and think, wow, like, you're just some guy. Like, what makes you special? It's kind of the same for Ralph, because, like, yeah, he's doing, like, he's doing the bare minimum, but, like, is it enough? Probably not. No. And then this is going to be a wild take, but I also don't like Piggy.
Yeah.
But not the reason that other people don't like Piggy, because, like, the point is obviously for you to dislike him and want to hate him in the way that Ralph and Jack do, because he's this, like, irritating little boy, but he's also the most intelligent person on the island, who gets othered by everyone else, which is incredibly sad. But also depends so much more on the dominant boys to take initiative and do the right thing. And the reason I really don't care for him either is I think he represents just as much of a vice in terms of leaders as the other two boys. And I have a line here from Jack Miradou's essay. It's called Piggy, a pathetic everyman, and his symbol in Golding's Lord of the Flies. And it says, as an everyman, Piggy places too much faith in what society should do, what rational people should do, and thus he remains at the mercy of the potential tyrants such as Jack, the sadists such as Roger, and even the opportunists such as Ralph, who first gains favor with the group by revealing Piggy's dislike of his nickname. Finally, William Golding himself, I learned while reading this book, is a fucking piece of shit.
Oh, okay.
And a terrible person, because having, among other things, admitted to attempting to rape one of his piano students, a young girl.
Oh, no.
In an unpublished memoir. Yeah, he's just a nightmare. Like, maybe someone dropped a boulder on his head, maybe? Like, where is he buried? Someone get me the cemetery address. I will be bringing my boulder.
Yeah.
He should die. Yeah. So that's why this book sucks.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Not that I really, clearly one of us did more research on this book than the other. Guess who? But not that I don't always look into, like, the authors of books that I read sometimes, which maybe I should. But sometimes I just read a book and I go, okay, and then I don't think about it. That's enlightening. Yikes.
I mean, I don't usually do that either. I probably should more as well. I think I only do it when I read something and I'm like, what the fuck made you like this? Like, who made you this way?
Yeah.
And in this case, it was probably a lot of things, but mostly the being a bad person. So, yeah, crazy guy. Used to experiment on his psychology students. So, once again, very unethical. Boo. Bad man. Read any other book. Read anything else. You can even read The Cruel Prince for all I care. Just don't read this damn book.
Don't read this book.
So now that we've talked about that, it's going to be interesting for us to talk about peaks and valleys. But we sure should. Did you have was there any peaks in this book? Like anything that you particularly liked about it? Trying to, of course, to separate the literature from the terrible person that created the literature. If that's even possible.
I don't know. I guess my first peak. My first peak would be that it made me think of that time when you read it aloud when we had a sub for English that one time. LMAO. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I sure do. I'm still surprised I never ended up getting in trouble for that.
Yeah, we had a sub for English one time and we were reading Lord of the Flies, and often what we would do in class is we would read the chapters together sometimes, for some reason, and I guess to just like practice our reading skills.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Some of us needed it.
Some of us really did need it. Some of us were wondering why we were here, just to suffer. But so sometimes people would volunteer to read aloud, and one day we had a sub, and Amberlyn was just like, I want to read, and read she did. And actually, to say read is an understatement. She performed her life out of that shit. I just have a vivid memory. I don't remember exactly everything that happened because I don't remember. But I do have a vivid memory of you, like, either you were standing up on the desk or, like, in the windowsill, and you were just, like, chanting. You had the book in your hand, and you were just, like, yelling the book out to us, and it was probably the most entertained I've ever been in an English class.
Yeah, the narcissist in me most certainly needed to be the center of attention that day. So I'm glad that she was. I
had fun.
I don't remember like what was. I just remember the intention, and I think the intention, other than being perceived that day, was also like. Just that the way he had been reading was making us all laugh because he was reading with this very simplistic, almost like, I don't want to say like almost not in a way that talks down to people, but just with this voice of like, blah 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 blah, like this cadence of like talking to a child, and I was like, that's kind of disrespectful. So I was like, well, I'm gonna read the same way but worse.
Yeah, and then I remember like the next day, like the notes that were left with our teacher, he didn't call you out specifically, but he was just like, and one student was inspired by my reading techniques or something like that, or the way he read, and like it was very like subtle and being like, she made fun of me. But I just remember that saying that, and we were all like, "Oh, yeah, she did," but it was fun. And like, I don't remember him saying anything about it. Like, he didn't seem mad.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I respect her for him for that, but I also recall that he called one of our friends fat, like it was an insult, and was very mean about her because he was a family member of her boyfriend and a very bad person.
All right, well, I hate that guy.
Yeah, everybody gets because I remember feeling particularly bad that I'd done that, and then I learned that, and I was like, I don't feel bad about it now.
Oh, never mind. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well. All right.
Yeah. Fat is not an insult by any means,
No.
but he did intend for it to be in that sense, and for that, I hope that he's. I hope he's having the worst time right now. Honestly.
That's that's a grown man talking about a child.
It sure is. It sure is. It sure is.
Yeah,
Also a
yikes
substitute
from me.
teacher, question mark? Like, I don't know. Maybe. No.
Did you have a peak? Or two?
No. I didn't really have a, like, I'd say my first, and this isn't really a peak, maybe just some sort of small defense of this book. And that's as a satire, it probably isn't a bad book. And I wouldn't know because I've never read the source material. I've never read Coral Island, and I probably never will.
Yep.
And what I think really is what's dangerous is that in schools now we're trying to apply this book to all humanity when it's a story commenting on a specific moment in time and a system of power that existed there. In other words, I think this book has a time and a place and probably thrives in that time and place, but it doesn't hold relevance as an umbrella novel meant to encapsulate all of the nature of man in society now. So when I think back about some of the questions we were asked on quizzes, the way we were asked to interpret this book and perceive it, I just think it's like a bit concerning because it really wasn't the author's original intention. And I say this because this exact fucking thing happened in real life, and it ended in the exact opposite way. And there were some young boys shipwrecked on an island for 15 months, and they actually were able to work together and, in short, kind of cooperated together and were able to survive on that island by forming kind of a micro society. So it's almost like we shouldn't be applying it to all things because it's very possible that a bunch of young boys could end up on an island together and probably be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
I also think this is a great example of the phrase, it's not that deep. Like, the intent for this book is not that deep, really. And Golding would probably say that, among other repulsive things, if he were here today. So, like, some of this shouldn't be taken literally. It reminds me a lot of what's happened with, like, my year of Rest and Relaxation, for example, where we've taken this book that is a satire and turned it into this, like, display of why mental health services are important. And it's like, it's not that at all. It's quite the opposite.
I will say that, there still stands the argument that, like, you can read a book and interpret it however you want, because even if, like, you don't know the author's intentions, like, I didn't know, like, that going into it, with The Lord of the Flies, so, like, I didn't know that, I didn't know it at all that it was a satire, but, and I did kind of interpret some of the things as, like, a take on, like, what groupthink can do, and I guess you could almost argue that, like, yeah, that could happen, but I still think it's pretty wild that he was just like, yeah, if you put children on an island together, this is what's gonna happen. Like,
yeah,
I still think it's pretty, it was a choice, and, I respect the author's intentions of a book that's written, but also I still think that as a reader, you shouldn't be told what a book is trying to tell you. I feel like when you're reading, you should be able to, like, take the story how you interpret it in a way. I don't know. I just don't like being told what to think while reading.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. And I should add, I think it's really, there's some really useful themes that you can take away from this book. What I'm explicitly commenting on, though, is the explicit desire by a lot of English teachers to group this in with other books that are making larger commentary about society, because that's very dangerous, in my opinion. Like, I think you can take whatever you want from this book, but I think that saying, oh, this is a book that should be a model for, like, essentially like a justification for what would happen if you took away all barriers to society and you just asked people on an island to work together and do things, I think is just very, like, dangerous, in my opinion. IMO, but
IMO.
But I also very much agree with you that I think that we shouldn't be told what to think when we read books, which is why I also hate the way that we've been told what to think about how this book is supposed to be a larger commentary on society by English teachers. So
I also think that this is a good book to learn, like, almost like how symbolism is used from, because there's a lot of symbolism in this book. I feel like you could almost argue this entire book is symbolism. There's so much with, like, Simon and the flies, and then even just, like, everything with the beast in the woods and stuff. Like, I feel like as a student that's learning how to read these tools in literature, like, I think that's a good way to do it. But, like, use those symbols how you read them. Like I feel like you shouldn't hand in an essay and be like, I think that this symbolizes that, and be told no, you're wrong. You know, like it's like, no, you can't tell me I'm wrong. It's a symbol, you know, and like well, I could interpret it this way, and you could interpret it a different way. Like, don't tell me what to do. You know?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry?
I'm not trying to tell you what to do.
No, I wasn't. No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying like as I'm a student and I'm handing in an essay and be like, I think this symbolizes hope. And then my teacher says, no, actually the author wanted this to symbolize that. And I'm saying, well, that's not how I read it. Don't tell me what to do.
Right. I think this book also, well, that was actually, I think if we're going to transition there, I think that was actually, my second peek in this book was the symbolism and like just the visuals in the book.
Yeah.
Because I think he does a really great job at like showing you one thing, but kind of helping you understand that it means something completely different. So that was my second one. And unfortunately, I didn't have anything beyond that because I just really do not like this book.
Oh, it's okay. My second peak was that it made me think of the show Wrecked the entire time, and how that was a bunch of people stuck on an island, but it was funny and more entertaining than The Lord of the Flies ever could be for me.
Is Wrecked a better statement on societal on society and the power of whatever the fuck we were talking about earlier?
It's a more entertaining one
than Lord of the Flies. Discuss in the comments under this YouTube video.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Did you have any other peaks? Just valleys?
No. Just, I was reading this and I was like, God, I don't like this book at all. And so I just kind of went through it as quick as I could.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not going to look into the symbolism and shit because I'm not a sophomore in high school anymore. So I don't have to. Did it. Been there, done that. Did it.
So did you have any valleys?
Yeah, I had to read it again. That we did this to ourselves.
Yeah.
Really, my general valley is that I genuinely don't think that this is how a bunch of children would handle being deserted on an island. Like, yes, I can see the whole like power struggles with like wanting to have some sort of leader and there being tension with that. I totally can see, because I feel like that could happen in literally any situation ever where you need to have some sort of leader, because there's gonna be people who just don't agree with each other, and when you're trying to elect a leader in whatever situation, no, not everyone's gonna be happy. That's never gonna happen. And that's just kind of how it is. So I think that was that was portrayed fine, I guess, but just the way that they all acted, and I don't know, I just really don't think a group of children would literally kill each other like the way that they did. I don't think so. And you could even like argue with the whole like, oh, there could be, like you could start going a little, like some of the kids started to like see stuff in the woods that wasn't there. And I can totally see that being a real thing that happens, especially when you're like, it's really hot out on this island and I haven't eaten in a few days and I don't sleep anymore. And so maybe not everything is as it seems. And so I could see that. But I just don't think these children had the capability of like thinking how they did and seeing a child and killing them and then seeing another child and killing him. I don't know. I was reading this and I was like, has this man ever met a child in his life? I don't think so. And I just, the entire time I'm just like, this is not how it would happen. Like, I'm not going to try and test the theory. I just, going by the children that I have known in my life and having been a child myself, I really don't think that this is how this would go. And like, I know now that this is a satire and I have not read the original thing that it is, based off of, but I still really, I don't know. The entire book, I was just like, nah, dude, this ain't it, Chief.
I want to believe that I would laugh at it and I'd find some of the like implications about how these children would treat each other funny if I'd read the original subtext, or if I'd read the original source material rather. And I think no. I think maybe I wouldn't, simply because I didn't live in the age of British imperialism. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't care about this book. Like, I literally do not care. It's well written, yes, but does it belong in our schools? No. Like, I know I sound like a WASP mom right now, but the author literally admitted to trying to rape a girl. And we don't know that. Like, that's not something I learned until much later on. Like, why are we doing this? Why? Why is this still the canon? Is like, I have to go to school, and I'm going through puberty, and I'm sad all the time, and I have to read a book by, like, an attempted rapist. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that. That's not something I want to do. No.
Yeah.
Like, there are better satires out there. There are better, like, commentaries on society and the will of man. And they chose this one. That wasn't even intended to be like that. Like, just like, no, why are we doing this? No. Stop.
It's time to stop.
It's time to stop. Which leads me to my next question. Do you think you could survive on a desert island?
I will say that I would do my damn best to survive because this girl likes to living and breathing. So I would really do my best to survive. I did learn some wilderness skills growing up, having lived in the woods, so you kind of had to. I can start a fire. I know how to get north. Well, if I have a compass, I don't have like a built-in like I know where north is all the time. But I feel like I could figure it out. But ultimately, I would probably die of skin cancer due to lack of sunscreen and too much sun exposure, and also the fact that I'm a little bitch in the heat.
Same.
So,
wow, here.
Yeah, I would do my best, but it wouldn't pan out for me. How about you? Would you survive on a desert island?
No. I wouldn't even try. Like, if that happened, I'd be like, yeah, no. That's about right. Let's go to bed. You know?
Let's go to bed.
I'm a disabled person with a real fervent desire to eat food at least 4 to 5 times a day. I really don't think that an island would offer me that opportunity. So I would probably just, like, make myself a little sand bed, lie down, call it a life. It's a good one. I enjoyed it.
Cool. So we think that we would eventually die, but let's find out for real by taking this quiz on would we survive being stranded on a desert island from Spark Note.
Would I survive? Okay, Spark Notes. Okay, this isn't Book Riot, so hopefully there'll be some grace here.
If this was made by Book Riot, which if you listen to our Pride and Prejudice episode, you know that Book Riot is #1 on my enemy list. They're the only enemy I've made on this podcast so far. But we know that it didn't end well, and Book Riot wants me to die on a desert island. However, Spark Notes, you're my friend. You're my pal. My homeboy, my sweet cheese, my rotten soldier, my good time boy. So please do not let me down. Let me survive on this island.
The more posts like this, recommendation for quizzes below it that has a picture of Jughead, and it's called Quiz. How weird are you? Yeah. Boy, do I want to find out.
Do you ever take off that weird hat?
I'm weird. I'm a weird guy.
Weirdo.
Oh, I literally can't. Okay. Speaking of which, I can actually hear Riverdale playing through the door right now, and my partner is watching it while he tends to his cut hand. So, all right.
Poor guy.
Question 1: You're standing.
You're
standing
on a desert island.
You're standing on a desert.
Sit down.
You're stranded on a desert island. What's the first thing you do? Call a meeting with my fellow survivors. Immediately strip naked and descend into savagery. Find fresh water or cry.
I would cry.
Yeah, crying sounds like the natural thing to do.
I'm a Pisces. I would cry.
I'm going to say find fresh water because I need to have...
That would be #2 for me.
Like 200 milliliters of water in my body at a given time. Otherwise, I will not be a very happy person to be around.
Nice. Which person would you be? The island leader who brings everyone together? The adversarial troublemaker with a thirst for blood? Jesus. The annoying, unlikable one who no one listens to? Or the perfect cinnamon roll who is probably marked for death?
They called him a cinnamon roll. Simon. Here I was thinking I was going to get persecuted, but y'all have been.
The perfect cinnamon roll.
That's enough. I'm going to say the annoying, unlikable one who no one listens to because that's already who I am. So...
I'm going to say the same thing because I would probably be the one trying to like reason with people and they're going to be like, shut the fuck up. No one cares. You're going to die of skin cancer in 2 days anyway. So.
Speaking of skin cancer, what survival skills do you have? Can you build a fire?
Not built-in melanin.
Can you hunt and or fish? Can you make a
bivouac?
Bivouac? Really?
Yeah.
I thought biovac was the...
Nope.
where we were going.
That's bivouac, and I know that because my brother was in Boy Scouts.
What the fuck is it? Can you elaborate on that? What the hell is that?
No.
I
just remember him being like, "Oh, we're going on a bivouac," and I'm like, "That's a funny word. Have fun."
I know which plants are edible. I can tie a bowline knot. I know how to reset the modem and router when the Wi-Fi goes down. Not exactly a novice here. You did say you could build a fire, Caitlin.
I can build a fire, yeah, and I have before. It's very fun.
I know how to fish, so I'm gonna give myself that one.
Legendary arsonist, Caitlin. I mean, what? What would be your main priority? There's a picture. Listen, canonically in my life, there is a picture of me holding a lighter in a car, with an evil smile on my face.
Trying to blow up our friend's car. Yeah.
I was trying to help her dry her pants, but okay. What would be your main priority? Maintaining the signal fire, building shelter, having fun, or breaking away from the group and establishing a rival faction wears war paint. Yep. Spark notes.
Yeah.
You gotta spark check yourself. Breaking away from the group and establishing a rival faction who wears war paint and lives for the thrill of the hunt.
The way none of these are the answer. I'm gonna say breaking away from the group and establishing a rival faction which wears war paint and lives for the fear of the hunt or the thrill of the hunt. Yeah, that's me.
I'm gonna maintain the signal fire so that this book can end quicker.
That's smart.
Thank you.
There may or may not be a monster on the island.
Uh-oh.
How do you deal? Set out at once to confirm or deny its existence. Suggest it might be a metaphor for the human condition. Use this to bolster my leadership with blatant fear-mongering. And there's no such thing as monsters because science says so.
Because science
What
says
specific
so.
Science?
Someone doesn't believe in cryptids here.
Have you met a shark?
I'm going to say set out at once to confirm or deny its existence because I like to come at things with facts. Sometimes, like with ghosts. And so I completely believe in ghosts. But if I hear a noise, I'm like, okay, logically, what could it be? So if someone's like, hey, there's a freaking monster on this island, I'm like, all right, let's find out. I want to see it for myself. So I'm going to set out at once to confirm or deny its existence. And if there is, I was wrong. And if there isn't, let's continue living on this island.
That's nice. I'm going to suggest it might be a metaphor for the human condition.
All right. Do you suffer from frequent fainting spells, poor eyesight, or asthma? Shit.
Yeah, that's upsetting. Yeah, I can check all those boxes, unfortunately. Thanks.
I am legally blind. So, yes. It looks like I'm dying. Next question.
How suggestible are you? Not at all suggestible. I'm my own person, and I do what I believe is right. Extremely suggestible. Like, if someone asked me to join their island murder club, I'd do it.
Okay, so this is a loaded question because I feel like I can be pretty suggestible. Like, if someone's like, hey, I got this club, and I'm like, okay, do tell more. And if I found out that it was a murder club, I wouldn't join it. But also, like, I'm kind of bored on this island.
Yeah.
Gotta break up the monotony.
Yeah.
So...
keep things fun and flirty,
Exactly.
I'm gonna give myself some pointers for being my own person, I guess, and do what I believe is right. Because I'd like to believe maybe I'd still have a conscience in this situation.
I would hope so. Well, one of us has to, and apparently it's not going to be me. All right. Have you ever killed a pig with your bare hands? Never.
Who's asking?
Yes. Never. Yes. No, but it's not for lack of trying. Or
I like that one.
I prefer not to answer.
I really like no, it's not for lack of trying. I'm going to use that one. That's really funny.
That is really funny. I like an air of mystery, so I'm going to prefer not to answer.
There you go. I like that. She's mysterious. That's hot.
Final question.
Do you feel emotionally prepared to confront the crushing weight of humanity's inherent darkness? Shit. Spark Notes? That's kind of funny, honestly.
Spark Notes is hilarious.
Whoever made this, you're good. You can stay. You passed the vibe check.
Yeah. Thank you, Elodie.
Yeah.
Who made this.
I'm gonna say, well, what do you think? Actually, I'll ask you first.
Well, what are the options?
Oh, yes, no, and on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 6. I'm maybe a 6.
I'm maybe a 6. I just love that answer.
Yeah.
Because, like, I can't say yes, I'm ready to confront the crushing weight of humanity's inherent darkness.
Uh-huh.
I mean, technically no, but if I think about it, I'm a 6.
I feel like I do every, like, at least 3 or 4 times a year when something horrible happens in the news, so I'm gonna say yes. All right, let's learn. What did we do? Did we make it? You would not survive being stranded on a desert island, and I think that's quite right.
Yep, same.
You would get hit by a boulder and plummet off a cliff so fast it's not even funny. Most likely because of your various character deficiencies.
Oh no.
You're right for that, though, Spark Notes. You're right for that.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just too good for this world. Either way,
no.
Don't feel bad. Not everyone has what it takes to survive an island of feral children, and certainly not feral children with a pointy sticks and fire. Yeah! No, that's fair!
Yeah.
I feel respected by this quiz result. I don't feel like I got roasted too hard. What about you?
No, I got the exact same answer. I would not survive being stranded on a desert island. And you know what? I knew that going into this.
I'm glad
so
we
I'm
knew
not
our place.
Completely hurt.
Yeah.
I know it's all because I have poor eyesight. So if my glasses are broken, I'm screwed. And also, like I said, the sun is not my friend. So we been new.
Now,
Thank
if you were
Spark
stranded in a
Notes.
cave, different story.
No, I'm claustrophobic.
A large, very empty cave. Like, there's a lot of... It's like a gymnasium.
Do I get some sort of light source?
Yeah, you get, like, one of those cool mushroom lights on TikTok. No, you get one of those sunset lamps on TikTok. Yeah. One of those.
I would still die. I would probably start seeing things. I'm also not the biggest fan of the dark. So
So the sun is your enemy, but you also are not a fan of the dark.
Yeah, it's just a lose-lose situation for my life here. But I fucking love that moon, baby.
Caitlin needs like a moon-sized amount of light each day.
I do. Like if it's full moon all the time.
I
I just want to see the stars.
That's why we're lit by moonlight.
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening at home, that's a callback.
And you saying that's a callback? That's a callback.
As well, yeah. That's like a new thing I do on the show. Where I say that's a callback. It's like part of my brand now. Yeah. So the writers wrote it in specifically for me.
Yeah, just for you. All right. So now that we've learned that we would fucking die, do you have? And we did read this in high school, as we all know, our sophomore year. Do you have a high school story time?
I don't.
Miss, you came up with this idea?
I don't. I sat here at my computer for like a good couple of hours just like staring, thinking about what happened in high school, and unfortunately not very much.
Cool. I had the same issue. Remembering high school is hard. But do you remember when we hosted the talent show our senior year? Because I remember that being a thing that happened.
Yeah.
And I have one vivid memory of being on stage and doing some bit, but other than that, the night is gone from my memory. Can you please help me recover it?
I cannot. I don't remember
damn
anything except that there's a random article in our local newspaper about it.
Wait, what?
With a picture of us, and
She has it linked.
that's
to
how
it.
I know
This
I
is
was
great.
there. That's how I know I was there. That's how I know I had a good time. I remember really enjoying myself because Caitlin and I are fortunately like two peas in a pod, and we kind of play off of each other really well.
Audience, this article says, audience members erupted in cheer and graciously applauded after each act. Seniors Caitlin Laurie and Emberlyn Leach hosted the humor-infused show. That dress is hanging in my closet today. There's a picture of us. Emberlyn looks like she's like looking at me very confused, and I look like I'm halfway through a TED Talk of mine. So why am I wearing that dress? Why are we dressed like that?
I don't know, but it says that
Oh.
I spooked a neuroscience science teacher and received
Icon.
several laughs when I made up my own dance called the Sedimentary Rock. So
I am kind of remembering
that's a great joke. I mean,
That's a really good joke.
I'm gonna have to
kind of remember.
email some people and see if I can get a copy of this because I kind of want to know what happened.
That was literally the entire article. It was what we read you, and then there's 2 more sentences. It says, "We have so much talent here," one audience member said. "Event proceeds will support the school's drama club."
See,
The end.
knowing now what I know about the workforce and like media relations, I can guarantee you that somebody made that up. Like nobody actually said that. They just like were like, "Oh, no one's gonna stop me if I make up some quote about what the audience member said." because that is how it works. Nobody actually said that, I promise. Like, the fact that they didn't quote, like, name the person who said it, like, that tells you once and for all that when they were writing this at, like, fucking, I don't know, 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, they were like, what the fuck can I say about this? Some audience member said this was great. Yeah.
And it was a submitted article, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I know that we did it, and I remember doing it. And I more remember, so we twice, our junior year and our senior year, we did teacher skits, which is basically just a public roast that all of us students did, or like our friend group and like kids from like our drama club that we all got together did at the talent show to just roast our teachers. And it was hilarious, and our teachers loved it, and the audience loved it, and I just remember having so much fun with it.
Yes.
But I remember that more than physically like hosting it. Like, that was a whole night that we prepared for and we hosted, and I don't remember anything.
I just want to go back for a moment to the fact that you just said that article was submitted, which most certainly means our music teacher submitted it.
Oh, yeah.
Which just adds another layer to the fact that a lot of it's bullshit, but thank you.
We have so much talent here.
So much. She was looking for those talent scouts. She was like, come here. come here, Ryan Murphy. So, that's it. That's the only thing I have in mind in terms of things that happened in high school. I'm still not sure. Oh, I got one. I was talking to somebody about this the other day because I couldn't fucking remember. Yeah. Like, I was like, I'm still not sure this is normal. But every other year before prom, that is, we'd have this thing called a mock DUI.
Oh my god.
It's true.
Yeah.
I cooperated this with a friend. It's true that other schools do this, but I don't know if it's as elaborate as ours. Because, see, for ours, they bring in these smashed up cars, and students from the school would come and act in the car scene, and there'd be a lot of gore. There'd be like a leg someplace out there, like dislocated from someone else. Incredibly triggering. They'd make us all go out into the bleachers and watch all that happen.
Watch a car wreck.
Basically watch a car wreck. Very traumatic. And then a helicopter would show up, a helicopter that they paid like $2,000 for, give or take, each on a bi-weekly basis to have come in and quote-unquote airlift the person off of the crash scene. A helicopter would come and land in the field by the school, and then quote-unquote take that person away to the hospital, to the hospital in our nearby city. And then we would all go inside of the school, and we would go to a like mock sentencing for the DUI person, the person that had been, drinking. And our county coroner, who was also our coroner, our county coroner, who was also our DA, would show up, which seems like, and in fact is a huge conflict of interest. And he would, do his little bit, and then essentially there'd be a reading of the person who died. It'd always be a fatality. The person who died's parents, actual parents and friends, would come in and read their goodbye notes, and it would get very emotional because obviously you're imitating your child dying, so a lot of parents would come in and read. It was horrifying. And then at the end, we'd all have to go up and quote unquote say our piece to the casket. So we would all go up in a line, and we'd go up and we'd look in the casket to say goodbye to that student, and there wouldn't be a student in there would be a mirror.
Yeah.
Which I it's very effective, but also a bit disturbing, and I do also think there's a bit of excess there.
Yeah, so I will say that, it's the intention obviously was to stop people from drinking and driving, which you shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. And if you do, fuck you. Mm-hmm. So don't drink and drive. Always have a designated driver. Please take care of yourself. Be safe. But it was like, I think the like fake car wreck thing, fine. It really shows like I'm not a big fan of like scare tactics all the time, but sometimes maybe some people need it to be like, oh shit, this is scary. Like the car looked terrible. Mm-hmm. There was fake blood on our friends and shit. Like it was scary, and you get thinking about like, okay, I don't ever want to be in that situation. Thank God this is fake. I will say the mock funeral is too much. That's too far. I don't think a student should have to have their parents come in and basically say a eulogy and pretend that their daughter is dead and literally be sobbing on stage because, oh my God, that's terrible. I don't know. It was. I just remember feeling very uncomfortable the entire time because I'm like, okay, I know she's not dead, but feels like too much. And also, why?
Yeah. I have a less nuanced opinion, and that is that we should have repurposed the money to bring Pitbull.
Dale.
Yeah.
I just want to know where our school got that money from because
Dale.
Where?
They do a fundraiser that raise money every year. Which I'm like, can you imagine going around to people and being like, "Hey, why not contribute for a fundraiser? It's for us to fake a bunch of kids' deaths in order to scare some children out of drinking and driving." Which, I mean, effective, but at what cost? So, back to this book. On a scale of 1 to 5, fires made to signal a rescue, what do you rate Lord of the Flies?
2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Fires. I just didn't enjoy it at all. I feel like reading this book, especially having already had to have read it for school, I felt like reading this now, I was like, this book is heavy on the symbolism, and that's, great, and it's good to have critical thinking skills when you read, and you should. But knowing that, I really think the only time most people, I mean, especially younger people, read this book is in school, because I don't know anyone who truly would willingly pick up this book and be like, I want to read this. I know there's those people out there, but I'm just like, I'm reading this and I'm like, I don't have to think about this as hard as I should or had to once, so I'm just trying to get through this. I know the main bits. I get the symbolism, but I just don't enjoy the story enough to look into it. Yeah. So I did not enjoy this book. I don't even think I enjoyed it the first time around. I just remember it being too heavy and too violent. Some of the imagery was very violent. I'm not a big fan of that, especially when they're kids. And I once again would like to emphasize that I don't think kids would do this. Yeah, 2 out of 5. How about you?
I said the same. 2 out of 5. Because again, I just think there needs to be some more critical thinking on the part of the Department of Education for the way that they teach this book in schools, and if they decide to teach it at all. So, yeah, it's a no from me.
Yeah, I don't even know how much it's still used, and I'm assuming it's still part of the curriculum in most schools now. But, yeah, we had to read it, and I don't know why. So
yeah, it was a choice.
The title of this episode: It was a choice.
It was a choice. Thank you for listening to Live by Moonlight.
To all that.
Yeah. Tune in next week when we conclude our back to school reading month with The Crucible by Arthur Miller. And woo-hoo. I can already tell you that I did in fact see Goody Proctor dancing with the devil. And bust it down.
Bust it down.